Hello and welcome to Global News 2112. Today for our radio special we are going to discuss the changes in the music world over the past 50 years and look at how things are nowadays. Joining me today in the studio is UK music journalist Ellery Maxwell to reflect on the past 50 years of music history. So Ellery, the year is 2060, brief the listeners on the world of music and the world in general.
Well, in 2060, the classical music industry, which began around the 1920s, was facing some serious damage with computer-generated music and low-budget music becoming rapidly popular, and the world in general was facing some serious damage too. The global crisis was at its peak with mega hurricanes, floods and droughts across the world. Religion was finally seeing a substantial decline as secularism was beginning to outpace religion in the West. China had just completed its full transition to democracy, and dream photography was entering the mainstream.
Indeed. I think as well for people knowing that it was a century after the swinging 60s, there was a sense that these 60s could also be in some sense revolutionary.
Oh, absolutely. That fact certainly fueled the so-called rebellious pioneers of this new bold music world.
Then about 2063 we first hear the term neo-music industry.
Yeah. Around the middle of that decade, I think there was a sort of realization that the old music world was dying fast.
Then of course we have the economical democratization years of the early 2070s.
Yes. To be alive in 2070 was to fully experience the peak of the collapse of an industry, a world, a culture that was 150 years old by the time.
And I would be one of them. I can recall seeing a news report on it when I was 10. So you can clearly tell that would make me a transageist. Ha ha.
Ha ha. Don't be so bloody modest. Ha ha.
Ha ha. Anyways, after those years had passed, the neo-music world slowly developed and became the norm. A new musical status quo came into being. Ha ha. Anyways, after those years had passed, the neo-music world slowly developed and became the norm. A new musical status quo came into being. Yes. And so then we had personalized music enter the mainstream in the early 2080s, of course.
Absolutely. Though initially it didn't generally catch on for people over 25, and a lot of people thought it would always be sort of like a common trivia, like 3D television but nothing more.
But they were wrong.
Well, bloody wrong. I mean, okay, in the 2080s and 2090s it was only really used by younger people and most of them didn't prefer it over the mainstream stuff. But then in the first decade of this century, personalized music finally expanded across the generations. And for most teenagers, they'd listen to personalized music as much as the mainstream stuff.
From here, it's November 2112 and the personalized music is slowly becoming more popular. Will it take over?
Well, one would have to assume yes. I mean, the trends all seem to show so. So in my opinion, though the jury is still certainly out on it, I believe within the next 20 years personalized music will overthrow mainstream music.
It seems very logical. I mean, I love personalized music. I love how I can have a song on almost anything and instantly, but it's hard to imagine a world without music stars.
That is true. I guess I see where you're coming from. So I suppose maybe on the one hand it may take longer than 20 years, but I do believe in the long term that personalized music will take over.
Interesting thoughts. Well, I guess we'll have to find out. For now, that is it. Thanks for joining us here today, and thank you, Alacia, for the discussion today. That's it from us. See you next time.